In a peaceful Minnesota town, a single night changed everything. 5-year-old Alayna Ertl disappeared from her own home, not knowing the danger within. The person who took her wasn't a stranger. It was someone the family trusted. What began as a simple sleepover turned into a nightmare no parent should ever face. How could a trusted friend betray a family's safety? What drove him to take a little girl's life? What unfolded in the hours after she vanished exposed a horrifying truth and shattered an entire community. Who was Alayna Ertl? Alayna Jean Ertl was a sweet, lively 5-year-old from Watkins, Minnesota. She loved softball, princesses, and playing with her little sister. She was always described as our little peanut, full of smiles, hugs, and kindness. Her family saw her as bright, caring, and full of potential. Though financially stretched, her mother, Kayla, and father, Matt, worked hard to make her childhood special. They tucked her into bed early that morning with her beloved pink Elsa blanket, never imagining she wouldn't wake up. Neighbors and classmates remembered her laughter and warm spirit, the kind of child who brought joy everywhere she went. When she disappeared, the entire town felt the loss. Alayna wasn't just their child, she was everyone's child. Her innocence, trust, and gentle nature made the crime against her all the more tragic. The disappearance. In the early hours of August 20th, 2016, Alayna was put to bed around 2:30 a.m. by her mother, wrapped in her pink Elsa blanket. Meanwhile, family friend Zachary Anderson, who had stayed overnight after playing softball with Alayna's dad, was in the house. When morning came, Alayna was gone, and so were Anderson and the family's GMC pickup truck. The parents reported her missing at 10 a.m., and an AMBER alert was issued shortly after. Authorities quickly realized the threat was not from a stranger, but someone who had spent the night in their home. Search teams scoured the neighborhood, tracked cell phone signals, and examined video footage. Every moment was precious. As the hours passed, hope turned into fear, and the search would lead investigators on a haunting journey across Minnesota. The search for Alayna law enforcement agencies connected the missing person report to Anderson's phone location, which led them into Cass County, nearly 90 miles from Watkins. They discovered the stolen truck near his family's cabin on secluded property. Inside the cabin, they found troubling evidence: a shotgun, ammunition scattered on a table, and a blood-stained note that appeared to be a suicide letter. K-9 units were deployed, and soon officers located Anderson in a swampy area nearby. He offered no resistance. When asked about Alayna, he initially denied knowledge. Eventually, he led them to a deep, muddy pool under debris where her body lay submerged. Alayna was shown in her favorite pink Elsa blanket nearby. The search ended in heartbreak, but the truth became sadly clear. Who was Zachary Anderson? Zachary Anderson was a 25-year-old from Coon Rapids and a co-worker and softball teammate of Alayna's father. He had been to the Ertl home before and was considered a trusted friend. But beneath that familiar face was a history of disturbing behavior. Court records revealed that in his teens, Anderson had harassed a neighbor, demanded sex, broke into her home, and stole her phone. He was charged with burglary and assault even then, targeting someone much older. There were no warnings when he spent the night in Alayna's house. What happened the next morning showed it was not a spontaneous act. Investigators found evidence that he had planned the abduction. He packed a bag, knew the area, and used the cabin to try to avoid detection. The betrayal cut deep not only to the Ertl family, but to the whole town that thought he was safe and trustworthy. The arrest and charges. After her body was found, Anderson was taken into custody without incident. He was charged initially with second-degree murder, sexual assault, kidnapping, and theft of a motor vehicle. Bail was set at $2 million. He later faced an upgraded charge of first-degree premeditated murder based on evidence of planning and intent. Prosecutors brought a long list of charges, including criminal sexual conduct, kidnapping to facilitate a crime, and interference with a dead body. News of his court appearances and formal indictments stirred outrage and grief. The community watched as the legal path toward justice began, though nothing could undo the damage. Legal proceedings. In March 2018, Zachary Anderson stood before the court and pleaded guilty to first-degree murder during the commission of criminal sexual conduct. As part of a plea agreement, the other charges against him were dropped, and the prosecution agreed not to seek the death penalty. This decision ensured a swift conviction and spared the family the trauma of a long trial, but it didn't ease the emotional weight of what had been done. During the sentencing, the courtroom fell silent as Elena's parents stepped forward. Their victim impact statements were heartbreaking. They spoke about Elena's bright smile, her playful energy, and the deep void left in their lives since her murder. Their words painted a vivid picture of a little girl who had so much ahead of her, and whose life was stolen in the most brutal way. Anderson offered a short apology, but for the family, it was hollow. Nothing he said could undo the pain or bring Elena back. The judge handed down the harshest punishment allowed under Minnesota law: life in prison without the possibility of parole. Anderson would spend the rest of his life behind bars. It was a sentence meant to deliver justice, but for Elena's family, there was no sense of peace. Their world had been shattered, and even though the legal chapter had closed, their grief would never end. Impact on the community Watkins was forever altered by Elena's murder. Parents began locking doors, canceling sleepovers, and questioning how someone so close could hide such darkness. Schools introduced child safety talks. Churches hosted vigils. The sudden loss brought neighbors together, but also fear and suspicion. A small-town innocence shattered by betrayal taught everyone to pay attention, to trust less blindly, and watch out for those closest. Local leaders and residents joined in marches for child safety. They demanded better checks, faster Amber Alert systems, and community education. Elena's name became a rallying cry for awareness and change. Remembering Elena's family created the Sharing Alayna Ertl's Love charity to support children and families in crisis. They host annual events, Halloween parties, toy drives, and memorial projects to keep her spirit alive. In 2023, the town unveiled a life-size statue of Elena in McCarthy Park as a permanent tribute. The park now carries her name and serves as a place where families gather to remember her and find comfort in unity. Though her life was brief, Elena's impact continues. Her smile, energy, and love endure in acts of kindness and awareness inspired by her story. Lessons learned. This case teaches tragic truths. Danger doesn't always come from strangers. It can come from people we know. Elena's story showed how crucial it is to take threats seriously, no matter how minor they seem. It also highlighted how technology like cell phone data, K9 tracking, and fast Amber Alert deployment can save lives. With each improvement in child protection practices, there's hope that another tragedy can be prevented. Above all, Elena's memory reminds us to listen to parents, to feelings of unease, and to everyday signs of distress. Because in her case, the clues were there, and honoring her means watching more closely. Alayna Ertl's life was short, yet her legacy lives on. She was a child of love, warmth, and light, snatched away in a moment of evil. While the man responsible is behind bars, the heartbreak remains. But through her family's strength and the community's resolve, her story has inspired change and vigilance. If this case moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more true crime stories that seek justice and remember the lives lost. Let's honor Elena by protecting the innocent and ensuring her name, her life, and her story are never forgotten.